Okay, so as we start off, whether you're live in the session or whether perhaps you're just a moment, um, watching at some time in the evening or whatever, let's go nice and easy. Always start off very gently. Just have a little think about your posture. So try and stand with your feet hip width apart. They're not too close together, making sure that you've got support for your hips and your shoulders. And we want to try and feel that they're supported all the way through the session. So obviously your legs are going to be crucial in that. Try not to lock your knees. So I'm going to feel your weight going down through your leg. Your back should support the front of your body. So feel longer and broader with a slight sense of the front of your body hanging, not pulling your belly in, tightening your chest. And finally, particularly for those of you perhaps a bit more familiar with these practices, but have a sense of being supported from inside your skeleton and trying to bring your whole body more into line with the full of gravity. Try not to get into a fight with gravity. With a slight feeling of lower back, hips and buttocks overhanging. So with your weight forwards, bring your knees just above the balls of your feet. And as you drop back a little bit, soften your knees and your hips. Then you find that your hips are more in line with your ankles. We'll look more detail later at this posture, but for now, bringing your attention to the center of your body and just starting to turn gently in your hips and your waist and feeling how that begins to move all the way through, particularly your upper body. Again, you may notice a change in your legs. People with a little bit more experience with these, do try and have a think about what's happening with your legs, particularly your knees, as you turn. We're trying to avoid this sort of misalignment of the knees, then twisting around, keeping them in line with the balls of your feet. And just gradually let the movement build up. Don't force anything. One of the characteristics for me of the postures that we take in Tai Chi is how they manage to create a sense of space within the body for movement. And especially at the beginning, we're not trying to force that space to open more. Well, we never try and force the space to open, but at the moment just be content with feeling that the movement just gently flows around the spaces. And what will happen is over a period of time, that movement will create more space, like water creating space as it erodes the soil. Just be aware of any areas in your body that feel a bit stiff or a bit blocked. Go very gently through those movements. Again, not pushing into them hard. Give yourself time, be a little bit patient. Your breathing comes just freely, however your body is most comfortable breathing. If you are aware of breathing methods and breathing patterns, they should be introduced very gently. You may find that they don't work for you too well to begin with. It's an overall sense of gently settling in. Be aware of a nice steady rhythm building in your body. Arms feeling quite heavy. And in this particular exercise, we're not trying to place the arms in any particular position. So the feeling of movement in your arms is quite a free movement. And that's a quality that as we go into the later exercises, we want to retain, whilst at the same time creating the shape. Feel the movement building in your back and your sides, big muscles in those areas, expanding and contracting. So certain patterns beginning to emerge that you become aware of. Some will be more consistent, others will come and go. These are all sort of landmarks. These are all things that can help us to just get a sense of the general movement, the general flow of energy through the body. And one of the sort of intentions as we develop the movements is to enhance and to balance that flow with a sense of smoothness and harmony. Particularly if you're new to this, do take time out if you need to. The posture that we've taken is a strong one, particularly on legs. Be careful that you're not beginning to stiffen up in your knees. So if you need to rest, then do so. Turning your hands palm forwards and then up. Just raising your hands a little bit, no higher than your shoulders, and maybe lower than that. And to give you a sense of the connection between the position of your arms and those patterns of movement in your sides and your back, and indeed the front of your body. Just a little extra movement as you stand down and turn. Slowly lower your arms down and then raise them up again, and just once again observing what is happening, particularly in your upper body. Also make sure that as you raise your arms, you're not pushing up with the legs, not stiffening up in the legs, still that feeling of overhanging in the hips. And try not to lift your shoulders, get a feeling that as your arms come up there's a rotation in your shoulder joint, but not a lifting. Drop your hands down. Take a step forwards, keeping the width of your step, bringing your legs more actively into the movement by moving your weight. And again, just letting the center of your body turn. Feeling the relationship between where your weight is, which leg your weight is primarily focused in, and the direction that the center of your body is turning. These are all basic ingredients of the movements. And so what we're just trying to do is to lay those ingredients out to get them visible to us one way or another. And they'll gradually harmonize and blend as we go through this session. Change over. Look forwards. Again, trying to minimize the sideways movement of your knees, particularly your back knee, I find, is the one that most often will get pulled out of line. Good, and then shake out. Coming back to the basic parallel stance, I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera so you can see a little bit better. Toes pointing forward or just slightly turned out if that's more comfortable to you, but try not to have them splayed out a long way. in a general sense that you're facing forwards and everything in your body is sort of looking in the same direction. And as you stand here, just thinking about this top part of your body, rib cage and chest, shoulders and upper back, very gently, you can sort of squeeze in. So I'm squeezing my hands in. So you tighten up and then slowly release. Do this very gently. Not meant to be a strong exercise. And it's really to give us the feeling of releasing and what that means in physical terms. What do we experience? And for me, there's a sort of, again, a spaciousness that develops, but also a sense of just dropping downwards, a draining downwards of tension. And when you've done that a few times with the top part of the torso, bring your attention again to this center part of the body. This is really the key area. So if I stand here and just tighten my knees, my thighs, hips, buttocks, lower back and belly, tightening and then releasing. And notice the effect on your shoulders, but particularly, again, this sense of just dropping downwards, the knees forming a gentle curve. And if you can have your weight a little bit forwards, focusing just behind the balls of each foot, then again, we get that sense of the hips dropping back slightly. We call it sitting. It's almost like you're perched on the edge of a table or you're sitting on top of a fence with hips and lower back overhanging a little bit. Allowing gravity to work down through your body. And this is the start of the process that we call rooting down in Tai Chi. Allowing your weight, allowing your center of gravity to drop. This is an essential part of the posture, giving you more stability with the lower center of gravity. And taking away one of the reasons, one of the very common reasons why we often strain in the upper part of our body. Imagine I gave you a box, a heavy box, and said hold it above your shoulders. You would find that it would be very difficult to relax there. But if it was lower down, then everything above the box is more likely to soften, more likely to release. So this gives us again the basic feel of this posture and the feel that we want to try and sustain all the way through the different exercises. So we use this awareness and use it to direct the body. This is intention. So you can come back to this at any point and remind yourself of this. But once again, just stiffening up around hips and lower back. And this time when you feel the downward movement, let your hips go down just a little bit more. So your knees will bend a bit more, not too much. And then feel yourself being pushed up by the springiness in your legs. Sinking down and back and pushing up. So this deepens the root. It will also condition your legs. And another little aspect of this is that as I go down, and I'll exaggerate, if my pelvis is tight, if my pelvis doesn't adjust, then I instantly feel myself being pulled backwards. It's a very natural movement for the pelvis. You don't need to make this happen. But what will happen is, again, I'll exaggerate. As I sink down, my pelvis will just tuck under. This is a really important action for our body and its stability and mobility, one that is easily lost. So just this exercise will help to improve that movement. It's a very subtle movement in the body. Your body expands and contracts. And expands and extracts again with a nice steady rhythm. This time bring your hands around as though you're going to cradle a ball, sink down. And as you push up, that expansion pushes your elbows up and draws your hands up from the upper part of your chest. Turn your hands over as though they're resting on the ball, sink your hips So you're pressing the ball down. One of the very common images that we use in Tai Chi is that we're moving through water. This helps us to develop the flow of the movement, but also helps with this aspect that it's intentional. It's not just random floating around with your arms. You have to bring a little bit of intention to maintain the shape, the patterning, not just in your arms and hands, but all the way through your body because of that imagined resistance. And imagery, in one way or another, is one of the key ways that we engage mind and body. Our bodies respond to images, and if we can use the right image at the right time, intentionally, we can start to bring about very subtle changes. The key aspect of this exercise to begin with is the rooting down. It's called rooting down, in fact. And it just encourages a deepening of the root. But we also notice after a while that the act of sinking down is a bit like dropping a ball to bounce it up. That expansive movement that fills the body with a fresher energy comes from the ground, from the legs, but the legs first have to be loaded. So we need to sink down first, and then we feel the rising energy coming up through the body. And again, nothing is forced. That rising energy permeating spaces within your body. And with the downward movement, kind of releasing of stagnant energy and tension in the body. Again, nice steady breathing pattern, whatever's comfortable for you. And that may change. Should only try and keep to a distinct pattern the whole time. If it feels like it's actually working well for you, don't hold your breath. Don't artificially lengthen in breath or out breath. And then same thing in your legs, hips sinking down, being pushed up, but your hands coming out to the sides. This is the wild goose. So we don't want to lose the awareness of the previous imagery. Our weight sinking, moving through water. But it's possible that the image of the bird in flight offers other qualities, an expansive quality, a smoothness, a flow of movement, perhaps. If I use an image that doesn't seem to work for you, don't feel that you've somehow failed. Not all images will work for you, and some take a little bit longer to really sort of investigate and to understand. And then another variation here, hands dropping down, crossing in front of your belly, pushing up, elbows, drawing your fingers around in the circle, parting the hands. The pace of the movement, the rhythm of the movement is set by your legs, not by your arms. So remember that feeling from the beginning when the arms are very loose and just following as we swung them around. And yet at the same time, gently maintaining a shape and a definite pattern. And then Going back to the first of these exercises and doing a little sequence of 3. Rooting down. And the wild goose. And parting the cloud. Don't worry if you get it out of order. Obviously try and keep it in order. And noticing the changes. So when we do rooting down, focus your attention in your belly, your lower back, just aware of the expansion and contraction there. As you start the wild goose, the same thing, but rising up towards your solar plexus as your arms go out to your sides. And then as we start parting the clouds, it's belly, solar plexus, and then up into the chest. And then starting the whole cycle all over again. So once again, just noticing the relationship between movements within your body, particularly your upper body, your torso, and your arms. And at the beginning of the process, it's really what we do with our arms that draws our attention to the more subtle changes in the upper body. But with practice, bringing your intention again to the body, intending to expand in your belly, and then changing the intention to belly and then solar plexus. And then again, intention change in belly, solar plexus, upper part of your chest. Eventually, we find that rather than the arms producing the change, it's the change that moves the arms first. So the movement becomes more internally focused, from inside to out rather than from outside to in. And this is a general development in Tai Chi, that as we become more familiar with particular movements, the particular patterns, they become more internalized. Feeling perhaps as though the air of your belly and your solar plexus being gently massaged by the movement. One more round. Remembering the intention to balance and to harmonize the movements, not to strain to produce them. Allowing them to develop in their own time without rushing. Now, letting your arms hang down. And once again, feel the weight of your arms. And with the next expansion, again, your elbow moving first, drawing your fingers up. At the top of the movement, wrap your fingers around gently, wind your arm around, pull down. This is called dragon, touch the stars from the sky. And then your attention moving to your opposite side and the same thing there. Don't rush to change over. And down. Make sure you finish each stage of the movement. We often find ourselves in an exercise like this, wanting to finish quickly and start the other side. But one of the benefits that I feel that we get from Tai Chi is this change of approach, this meditative quality of just slowing down, paying attention to whatever is happening at that particular time. So dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Now, this time, bring your hands to the side of your hips and then bring them around slightly in front, pushing up a little bit above your head, palms up as much as possible, and then back down, taking your time to bring your hands back to the starting position. Same thing again, but this time drop your elbows, and this will change the direction of the movement sideways. Just alternating these two movements. Your hands, as I said, will stay in front of your body, so try not to pull them back like this. Keep them a little bit in front. Both movements. Not back there, here. And again, just bring your attention to your back and sides and feel the expansion and contraction, the patterns of movements there, lengthways and then sideways through the body. This time, when your hands come in to your center, just trying to keep part of your attention. There's only expansion like a balloon, expanding in all directions, downwards and upwards. And then turning in that area, hips and waist turning a little bit, still aware of the movement patterns in your back. You're not twisting your back around, not striving for big movements. Feel how far you can go without losing those internal patterns of movement, of energy. So we're trying to move in harmony with the pull of gravity through our body, in harmony with the natural patterns and structures of movements in our body. Maybe just aware of how we have a number of habitual aspects of our posture and our movement for all sorts of reasons. And as we identify those, we want to gently change, but nothing again should be forced. And it's probably better to think in terms of looking for the positives rather than the negatives, the things that are working well. But this is called pushing in 4 directions, for obvious reasons, really. But I do feel that there should be a 5th direction, which is the inward movement. And again, we often find ourselves trying to shortcut that one. Hard not to be in a rush. Once again, making a change, let your hands drop down. And this time, when you feel an expansion, using that to push your arm out and so it springs up in line with your nose and then down the center line of your body. A similar feeling of expansion to the earlier exercise, up in the stars in the sky, but with this outward rotation in the part of our shoulder joint. It's called circling palms. And then, if it's comfortable, you can do so without blocking those movements within your body, turning again in your hips and your waist, just a little movement, and back to you. Now, changing sides. Notice any difference between one side of your body and another. There's often quite a difference. We can feel we often favour one side for one reason or one way or another. And then again, if it's comfortable for you, add in the turn. And just once again, gently swinging your arms around. Remind your weight is a little bit forwards. Hips are dropping back. The pelvis is leveled off. Okay, now just place your hands on your hips so you can feel the hips, the bones of your pelvis. So what happens when you deliberately tilt the pelvis forwards and push your hips back? So this is not a back bend. This is not you leaning forwards like this because you'll fall over. Principal thing here, pushing your hips back, the pelvis will tilt, and that will also angle your upper body forwards. And then when you go back the other way, not too far. So we feel how the center of the body really has a huge effect on the alignment of our body. If my pelvis is tilted back, my head and shoulders are back. If my pelvis is tilted forwards, my head and shoulders are forwards. So most of the exercises that we're doing, we keep the pelvis level. But the next couple of exercises will make use of this movement of the pelvis, and in particular, one of the really important elements I feel in the posture of the Tai Chi, that if we simply allow gravity to pull our hips back, if I'm leaning forwards here and I want my head to come up, right? If I pull my head up, that instantly tightens my back and my shoulders. But if I let my hips drop back, as I was sitting in the chair, then my head and shoulders come up much more easily. So we're going to make use of that very gently. I'll be trying to do the movements quite big so you can see what's going on. Just move as far as you're comfortable. And this time, as you tilt forwards, drop your weight down more. In that lower position, once again, let your hips drop back and then push up. And again, very carefully, we go back and the knees. And as you push up, this time your arms coming out. And as you sink down and your hips go back, that swings your arms forward. This is a movement called rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. So increasingly, we find that the center of the body is the area from which we direct the movement. When we turn horizontally, our arms move following that movement. And when we rotate vertically like this, as we can see, we have that effect on the alignment of our body, the position of our head and shoulders. So the area between hips and waist is actually the area that we want to feel is dropping towards the ground. That will direct the movement in much the same way as the steering wheel of a car or the handlebars of a bike help to direct the direction of the vehicle. Do one more of these. And then hands in front of your belly, palm down, and we do the horizontal turn and then the vertical rotation. Swings the hands forwards, swing your hips across to the other side, and come back up. Remember, I'm doing these quite big, so you don't have to do them anything like this range of movement. Go back the other way. I turn around so you can see what my hips are doing. I turn, I push back, I swing round, I let my hips drop down, and I turn to the front. Again on the other side. This is called polishing the table. It could be a very small movement. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Just do this nice and easy and gently, giving you a chance to notice again the internal movements of changes mechanically and energetically within your body. You can do so without losing that awareness. You can maybe go a bit further, but this is not a competition to see who can move the furthest. Not a competition at all. But you may experience a sort of lengthening in your back and spine. Just be very careful with that. Do one more on each side. And another benefit that comes from learning to focus your attention and practicing focusing your attention more into the middle of your body is that it really helps with this sense of focusing and gathering of your attention and the very deep sense of calm that comes out of that. So it's a key area of the body. It influences our minds, it influences our body from a mechanical, a structural point of view, and from an energetic point of view. So it becomes a regular point of focus. And if you practice that, you'll find it becomes much more natural for you to bring your attention there, particularly in those moments when maybe you're feeling stressed or maybe you're feeling tight in your body. My first teacher, Bronwyn Hipkin, always used to talk about standing like this in the supermarket queue. And, you know, in those stressful situations, we can refer back to these postures and recapture some of the sort of quality of ease and calmness, both physically and mentally, that we can experience in the practice. And this is something I feel we can take out of the classroom with this, if you like. Now we're going to change the stance, keeping the width of your step. We're going to take a forward step. We did this earlier, but now again, a little bit more detail. Turn your left foot out. So this is an angle that I would invite you to play around with once we're in the posture. And then step straight forwards with your right foot. And you can see the space between my legs is still there. I haven't done this. This would mean that we're trying to stand on a tightrope, and it's always going to be more likely to stiffen up. This is called the bow stance, and again is one of the basic stances that we use to help us establish the principles within the body and to recognize what the outcome of those principles are. Try and face forwards as much as possible, and this is where you may want to change the angle of the front foot, the back foot, but the front foot remains pointing forwards. And then just gently moving your weight from one foot to another. See if you can remember from the earlier exercises that springiness. That means that when we sink down, we feel the push up. We're not actively sinking down here. We're not going into the front foot and then going down more. But the very act of moving the weight into the foot gives us a feeling of compression in the legs. And if we can apply that quality of releasing, again, remember earlier in the session, and went through this exercise of tightening, releasing, tightening, releasing. So give yourself a moment here, not to bend the knee more necessarily, but to release, particularly through your back hip, knee. And then you go forwards and again release. So this helps to really settle our weight and to once again produce the reverse movement coming from the legs. And once again, it also just encourages us to slow down a little bit. It's very easy with an exercise like this to just randomly move forwards and backwards. Take your time. It's just a split second. I sometimes refer to this as that it's like a comma in a sentence. You don't notice it particularly, but you'd notice it if it wasn't there because it helps to structure your sentence. And in the same way, there are these little moments of stillness, calmness, constantly cropping up within the movements. Trying to maintain the alignment of your pelvis. Notice if there's a temptation, which again there often can be, to initiate the movement by leaning forwards. Think of this as a push, an expansion from the ground, rather than a leaning. So to begin with, as we do this, our upper bodies are quite passive. But again, if we apply an image like moving through water, if I did this in water, the pressure of the water would hold my shoulders back. So in fact, after a while, we do begin to notice, once again, small, subtle changes in the pattern of expansion and contraction and the flow of energy in the upper body. Once again, this feeds into our intention. The more we're aware of what's happening within the body, the more intentional movement we can bring to gently develop the movement. Let's go into your back foot. Gently raise your toes. Now you can turn the front foot out a little bit. Go forwards, push your back knee forwards. More of your weight dropping down through your front leg as you do. So gradually more of your weight settling in each leg. Try and do this again without leaning. In theory, you shouldn't need to. In theory, you don't need to tilt your shoulders or strain in your back just for your heel to come up. But you may find that you're habitually doing that. And if you notice that, rather than thinking, oh, I've got to relax in the upper part of my body, which isn't going to get you very far, really focus your intention, your attention on your pelvis, what's happening in your hips, your knees, your feet, until eventually you've got enough weight in your front foot to just bring the back foot in and then push back out and plant the foot behind. And be careful about your positioning. Bring the foot in, front foot, place the heel down, lower the toes, move away. Going back, it's the ball of the foot that goes down first, then the heel, and go back. And when you plant something, you just gently press it into the ground. So place the foot on the ground, a gentle push forwards, and letting your weight follow. Same thing when you go back. So that you maintain and enhance this connection to the ground. Take your time. Okay, and then let's do the same thing on the other side. You could imagine parallel lines running across the floor, and you're going to like tram lines with sometimes. Hips hanging back a little bit, turning your right foot out, step forward with the left, about the same in length as it is in width to begin with, maybe getting a little bit longer, and then transferring the weight, giving yourself that moment of stillness to settle in. Try not to stiffen up or lock your knees. And as you move, can you still feel that awareness of the hips overhanging? So there are a number of things in Tai Chi when I talk about intention that are constants. The intention is always to root down, to align, to harmonize the movement, to get that sense of moving through the path of least resistance, not straining. To maintain equality. I love the phrase in the Tai Chi writings that there's a stillness within the movement. So again, these different ideas of releasing, we're always looking to do, harmonizing, are really all just terms that shows a little piece of the jigsaw. Gradually, they come together into one thing, one movement, one quality. And then, once again, raising the toes and the heel. Feeling a stronger sense of your hips sinking as you do. So certain intentions are common for all the movements. Others vary from movement to movement. And then contracting your leg to bring the foot in, planting the foot, transferring your weight. It's given you an opportunity to reflect on this action of taking a step, transferring your weight, both of which are essential for our mobility. Trying not to tighten up in your back or your shoulders. We get stability by aligning our body and dropping our center of gravity by rooting down. And then this time, depending on where you've got the space, either forwards or backwards, step through, bring the foot in, check the posture here, and step. On the other side. These are not long steps, they're not fast steps, they're not interested in massive power here. I'm going to change direction now by bumping for the camera. And then bring your feet back. And shake. Both the quick step version of that, where we don't move the feet, and the stepping are really important exercises, really useful exercises. Once again, very simple. So an opportunity to just quieten your attention. If you do find that you're struggling with stability, then if I do here, my hand is just lightly brushing the wall. So this can help to give you the confidence to just release a little bit more and to eventually take the step. You just have time to really feel this. And again, you know, you take a step forwards, so in touch with the wall, and so on and so forth. So they're really useful exercises. Now, have your right foot forwards and start with your weight in your back foot. This time, as you push forward, imagine your arms being held back. So if you're in water, you move your weight forward, the pressure of the water will hold your arms back and then they flow through. And the same thing going back. So your arms following the movement of your weight. Your hips sink, and again, just aware of patterns of movement or change to your back, your shoulders, and the front of your body. This is fisherman casting now. Try not to stiffen up in your fingers. Notice that your arms are just following a gentle curve. And then this time, when you go back, you're going to turn to your left in the direction of pointing for your rear foot. Let your arms swing up a little bit, expanding in the left side of your body. Move forwards and turn, drawing your arms through, expanding a little bit in the right side of your body and back. Just tracing out what we call a sideways figure of 8 or an infinity sign, is used in physics and mathematics. Moving your weight, turning your center, feeling the patterns of expansion and contraction through your back and the sides and the front of your body. These are the different elements that combine to move your arms. So the movement of your arms is very flowing and unstrained. When we move from the ground in this way, we develop a genuine flow, a sustainable flow. One more time, going back, and then your arms drop down. So the same 2 exercises with your left foot forwards, starting with fisherman cast the net. So we have this formula, I often repeat in Tai Chi, that our movement is rooted in our feet, that sinking of our center of gravity, and the response from the legs, which is the upward movement, the upward energy that comes from the yielding, the sinking, the rooting down. Transmitted through the legs, the movement, that energy gets transmitted through our legs. Here we feel that very clearly. We transfer the weight from front to back and back to front. Guided, shaped, directed through the center part of our body. Here, we're moving forwards and backwards. We're facing forwards, and our arms are simply swinging forwards and backwards. And finally, expressed in our arms without overlooking those changes in between hips and shoulders. Our arms learn to follow. So this time, going back, we're going to turn a little bit to your right, aware of the expansion in the right side of your body, pushing your arms up, and then forwards, expanding in the left side of your body. Very soft in your shoulders. Elbows, wrists, the joints of your fingers, all just very soft and releasing, maintaining the shape, but not a stiff shape. As you would expect if you were moving through water. So it's a very useful image, that one, if you can make use of it. Now we combine this with the stepping. So turn your front foot out this time. Going forwards, push your back knee forward, bring the foot in, unless you're going backwards, you can feel it going backwards. as you expand on the left side, your arms come up, you step, and you go forward. Same thing on this side, you have a bit of a turn here, and you step. And you may find that you can raise your leg as well, expanding and contract. Expanding and contract. Once again, I'm going to change direction. It's not vital to raise your leg. If you find that that makes you feel a little bit wobbly and it breaks the flow of the movement, just keep your toes down. Fine. Take your time. Then, if you haven't done so already, just come out of the movement and bring your feet up. Rubbing your hands together. Doing the warmth from the palms of your hands and your fingers. And then lightly tapping over your face. And then over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder, your arm. And on the other side. And then onto the lower part of your back. This can help to just ease some of the tightness that can build up in muscles. It's also a very good exercise, once again, for just gently enhancing the flow of energy in your body, around your hips. Good if you're feeling a bit tired or a bit droopy. Your legs. And then light on your belly. And onto the upper part of the chest. I do those tapping exercises in a particular order, but you don't have to follow that order. Now come back to this basic parallel stance, what we call the Wu Chi stance. And our closing exercise, once again, sinking down until you feel yourself being pushed up, and use that to, again, move your arms out. And this time, bring your hands around as though you're going to hold a ball against your chest, elbows dropping, feeling the pull of gravity on your hips, drawing you back down. This is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Man. Earlier I mentioned about standing in the supermarket. This is where you will find what it is that helps to bring you back. What would be good for you to remember? Take out of the session with you, just to give you that reminder of the quietness, the stillness in your mind, the alignment, the settled quality in your body, the spaciousness there. In those moments when you feel anything but calm and spacious. So, what is it you notice most? Embrace Tiger, return to the man. One more time. And stay. Thank you very much for watching and joining in, everybody. As always, if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me by email, and I'll do my best to answer them at some point. But bye-bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day.